Welcome to Book Positive. This is Vinod Narayan. Today, in this episode, let's talk about Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. I've read Adam Grant's Givers and Takers, Think Again. I usually pre-order his books, but this time for some reason I could not pre-order, but I got a chance to get the book about 3 weeks back and I read it. I recommend all of you to read it. In this book, in this episode, I will share some takeaways from the book, at least for me, but I would recommend that you read it. It's not a very big book. The weight of the book is not in the number of pages, it's in the content, so please do read it. The first point is being creatures of discomfort. I made a whole video, an episode in Pen Positive channel just on that topic. It was so insightful that I realized my own shortcomings, that I tend to do things that I'm comfortable with, and knowingly or unknowingly I avoid things that are uncomfortable, which means there are so much opportunities for learning that I've lost in my life just because I'm not a creature of discomfort. So being a creature of discomfort is a very important thing, something that I hope I'm not going to forget. But I will try doing more and more things that are uncomfortable, that are of discomfort in nature, that could help me get into my learning zone as early as possible. Next one is, there's so many stories that Adam tells us in the book, but one story specifically is about Steve Martin. So if you know Steve Martin, the actor, comedian, stand-up comedian, you would never think that you would think that Steve Martin jokes would come so natural. Steve Martin gets on the stage and people would start laughing. And he tells a story about Steve Martin, how he would have continuous 20 minutes without one small chuckle in the room. And from there, he becomes one of the most sought out stand-up artists. And he had to do that because he did not like to write. And again, this comes to the point of being a creature of discomfort. Writing made him uncomfortable, so he did not do it. And then he got to this process of writing. And it made him very uncomfortable. He kept doing it. And that's how he became good at it. That's a very inspiring story. At least personally for me, there was a lot to learn from that. Becoming a sponge. So we know about sponge. We say that become a sponge because we can learn things. What does the sponge do? It absorbs, right? Similarly, we should have this tendency to absorb. And as we grow, we have this feeling that we know a lot. We become this know-it-all. So that was also another interesting thing. When you read some books, then some of the news or some of the things that happen around you, we start observing. Otherwise, we wouldn't. So as I was reading this book, that's when I read the news that Microsoft crossed Apple in its market cap. And they were attributing that to Satya Nadella, who had this concept that he had introduced, saying that we should move from being a know-it-all to a learn-it-all. And the sponge idea, that's what he probably converted that organization with every person in that organization acting like a sponge, where they were ready to absorb and learn what all that was given to them. Imperfectionist. Everyone wants to be perfect. Everyone talks about being a perfectionist. But always trying to be a perfectionist leaves a lot of things things that we could try, learn, and be good at, all those things are lost. So, trying to be an imperfectionist is important for us to be continuously learning and growing. That was interesting. To get better, you need to be brave enough to make mistakes. That's an interesting quote that I take away from the book. It takes courage to make mistakes. Knowing that the mistake that I made is an opportunity for me to learn. Serving society through productive work. What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of your work, or any work for that matter? How can you serve the society through being productive, through productive work? How much ever things, whenever I make a video about a book, I make many other videos on various topics, but when I make a video about a book, I'm thinking that, even if the person did not watch the entire video, I hope that the person gets to read that book. So there is something productive that might happen, even if the entire video watching it might not necessarily be a productive thing. So, serving society through productive work. Turning practice to play. There are some interesting stories where Adam tells us that how important it is that sometimes practice can be so boring. I mean, he's talking about sports, but at the same time, it's not just in sports. It could be in any work or personal life, any hobby, whatever it is. Sometimes practice can get so monotonous, so boring, so repetitive, and it becomes important that we start finding a way that we can mix that practice with play, and you can turn that practice into a kind of play so that you can learn and you can continuously do that for longer periods, right? Brain writing was an interesting topic. A better technique to produce results in a group than brainstorming. So brainstorming is everyone has ideas and everyone speaks and everyone talks, and then finally you don't know if a result has come. Brain writing is where everyone writes their thought process and shares it with people. So moving from a brainstorming session to brain writing session, I think that's something that we all should try within our organizations and teams. And finally, unearth collective intelligence of team. It's very important. We live in a world where it's very difficult for one person to know everything related to something that needs to be done. If we are in an organization and in a team and we want to get something done, we hope that the person managing the team or the leader should know everything. But that's not practically possible because so much nuances, so much complexities, so much things that's happening around us, one person cannot know. That's where we need to get this collective intelligence in place so that we can make sure we can use that collective intelligence to achieve the results that we want, the kind of outcome that we want. So, next book, please select Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. And I think there are a lot, and please share in this video if you can, the takeaways and insights that you have. Because again, I would want to be a sponge, but when you read a book, it's not necessary that I can be the kind of sponge that I want. So when you share what you think, that would really help me. You guys take care. I'll come with another book in another episode. Thank you.